Welcome to Mr. Ling's Fireside Renaissance Review Chat Test Chapter 15, all 4 sections to commence in but a few days. Welcome. I'd like to share some very interesting tidbits with each of you. I'm being warmed by my fire. I have my juice. Tasty. Juice is good for you. I have my music. And I have you. I need nothing more. So good. Let's get started, shall we? Hold on. I must turn the music off. There we go. All right. So, as I said, we are going to discuss the Renaissance and the Reformation. This shall not take long. These sections are short. They're pretty straightforward. And I hope you settle in, find yourself some juice, put the music off, perhaps a warm fire, a nice hat, a sweater, and enjoy our trip through time. Chapter 15, Section 1, begins on page 430, the Renaissance. The Renaissance was a time of widespread culture change in most of Europe, beginning in the 1300s and lasting through the 1650s. As we pointed out in class, the Mona Lisa is one of the most famous paintings of that era. The Mona Lisa, of course, was painted by Leonardo da Vinci, one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Not really. I can't talk like this forever. This is making me nuts. Anyway, all right, so the Mona Lisa, your book starts off with the Mona Lisa. Yes, I got my cool hat, I got my juice, and I got my sweater, had my music, got the fire going. And if I talk that slowly, it'll be spring break before you know it, so I can't have that. All right, Mona Lisa. Your book starts off with Mona Lisa mostly because it's the most famous painting that most people your age tend to grasp or know of or you're familiar with. And they wanted to kind of grab you and pull you in. So they start off with the Mona Lisa. Painter is Leonardo da Vinci. Your book talks about that. It talks about Leonardo being an inventor as well as a scientist. And if you look on page 430, it gives you a little bit of introduction to the Renaissance. As I said, the Renaissance is a widespread cultural change, and we talked in class about how those changes can come in many different forms. And we gave examples of technological changes that you all have lived in your lifetime. But in this particular case, the Renaissance is a return to humanism, which is also talked about in section 1. Humanism is the focus on the classics, the time of the Greece and Roman architecture, literature, sculpture, paintings, the study of beauty and nature, which of course includes human beings as well as the surroundings that we all enjoy in our environments. But also discussed during this section is the idea that Italy's trade was based on its cities and its independent city-states, and Italy is where the Renaissance began, ultimately. We talked about the fact that feudalism was dying off, these new ideas, people were getting away from the church, cathedrals, that Gothic kind of style of architecture, and ultimately the people were moving away from the monasteries and the convents and the monks into more open, free philosophy and ideas and thought. And one of those people was Leonardo da Vinci, who of course painted the Mona Lisa. On page 431, it talks a little bit about Italy and Italy's trade and how the Italian city-states helped that trade and the Renaissance ideas to flourish over time. Page 432 speaks briefly about Renaissance art and literature. If you look on page 432, at the top it shows a picture or a painting of Raphael, also another one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or at least that's where they got their name, from these Renaissance kind of guys. And then it continues to talk about the first paragraph says, the Renaissance is celebrated today as a time of great artistic achievement. Artists in all fields created stunning works, and this marked a change from the Middle Ages, the Dark Ages, and the focus on spiritual to now the return of natural beauty and nature. Literature talks a little bit about on page 432. We have Francisco Petrarch, who was a poet, who wrote these poetry called sonnets. On page 432, you can see that he continued to study the ancient Romans and ancient Greeks, and his sonnets or his poems reveal a study of love and nature and the beautiful things of the world. On page 433, your book moves very quickly into the visual arts and speaks of the idea that medieval art or Middle Ages spoke mostly to religious topics. However, the Renaissance changes once again into the Roman and Greek ideas of art, art being focused on beauty and nature and the human form. And painters and sculptors show these religious scenes and humans in these religious scenes. On page 433, it speaks again of Leonardo da Vinci. It speaks of Michelangelo. And his famous work, of course, is the Sistine Chapel, which I showed you a picture of that in class. And if you're watching this tonight, which is Monday, then you haven't seen that yet because I'm going to show it to you tomorrow. But the Sistine Chapel, that's probably his greatest work. Like Da Vinci's Mona Lisa, he is among the beloved and known for the Sistine Chapel. And then lastly, on page 433, we have Donatello, which is a famous sculptor. So we have different paintings, different kinds of paintings, and then Donatello is the sculptor or someone who works with clay and marble and sculpting. The statue of David is very, very famous for that time period. If we turn the page over to the Renaissance moving north, you will notice that during this time there was also fantastico invention